The people that want to leave are the American people, the normal American people. You know, the people who want to stay? The warmongers, like you. We have a lot to talk about. Obviously, we have everything just continuing. The warmongers finally got what they wanted, which was a terrorist attack. This is something that I was concerned about. You know, that so-called telegenic terrorist attack. You know, terrorists do this. This is how they play the game. It's not about whether an attack will actually materially change conditions on the ground. It's about whether the attack can be used and abused to capture the media. And the most evil people in the world, ISIS and American warmongers, are back at it. And as expected, they are using this. Now, it doesn't matter that there have been terrorist attacks just as bad as this pretty much every year in Afghanistan. And most of the time, American troops have remained safe behind 8 layers of fucking barbed wire, clear zones. So over the horizon capability, chat, what the fuck does that mean? Well, that means drones. That means attacks using special forces. It means covert ops. And the thing that really, really, really gets me about this is if Biden gets us out of this war, what if they stayed in Saudi Arabia? Would we have attacked Saudi Arabia again? Well, that's where they actually launched it from, but whatever. That will be the greatest thing he did with this presidency. And it seems that but that being said, it seems to me that we have entered a phase of permanent drone warfare where the United States just does whatever it wants. And that's that. Ugh, just the warmongers. Also, chat, if you were one of those people who've bought the dumb fucking idea that the populist right was anti-war, look what Tucker Carlson is putting on his show right now.
What do you think this means? What is going on here exactly?
Politics. No patriotism at all, no love of country at all. This is all politics, Tucker. That's why I'm as full of hate and rage right now as I have been probably since 9/11. I know for a fact either mothers or wives or somebody like that, they're getting a phone call tonight or will be getting a phone call shortly, and they're going to find out husband's never coming home again, daddy's never coming home again, my son's never coming home again, and I know for a fact the scumbags in the White House who run this country, they're sitting around a table as we speak, and they're not worried about mommy, they're not worried about daddy, they're not worried about that kid, they haven't shed a single tear for anybody, they're worried about poll numbers, Tucker, they're worried what polls well, how are we doing with middle-aged women, how do you think we did with black people tonight? How do you think we did? These people disgust me. They disgust me as...
Okay, so your argument is that we should send more troops to Afghanistan so that there are more phone calls for no fucking purpose. Imagine being this fucking stupid and falling for this. Imagine falling for this. Imagine being this guy.
As much as the Taliban disgust me, I'm so grossed out by the people who lead this country. Our warriors deserve so much better.
They certainly do. I gotta say, though, it does feel like potentially a turning point.
Billy
I mean,
B.
this reveals such rot underneath our credentialed class. You know, their claim to power is their expertise. They're good at stuff you're not. What do you know? You're Jesse Kelly, used to sell RVs. Shut up and obey. But they've just revealed that they actually have no idea what they're doing. They can't even withdraw from Afghanistan.
What? The credentialed class wants to stay in. The people that want to leave are the American people, the normal American people. You know, the people who want to stay? The warmongers, like you.
So what change do you imagine going forward?
I mean, so chat, serious question. Imagine falling for this shit,
Absolutely
man.
nothing. Absolutely, Tucker, they put Joe Biden in there on purpose. You remember they cleared out the field to put in this old man who's clearly half functional. Instead of dependable, we got depends in the White House. The guy has no idea what he's doing, and the backup plan is Kamala Harris, who quite literally laid down to get the job. These people don't care about country at all. There's no plan, and that's what's amazing right now, Tucker. None of them, not one person, not Lloyd Austin or Milley or any one of these idiots, none of them are looking in the mirror as you and I are talking and saying to themselves, gee, I think I really screwed up. They're all worried about their own rear ends and their pensions and their career, and there's no patriotism anymore, and it makes me want to vomit.
I think this is kind of the baby brain of American culture in a nutshell. Kind of the idea that you can do a war and it'll be clean and there's no consequences and no casualties. That you can do these things and that nothing bad will ever happen. You can't do those things. All right, let's watch some of these. Let's watch the right wingers, man. Just watch more of these right wingers.
Senator, we impeached Donald Trump over a phone call with Ukraine. Is that not an impeachable offense? Is this not rise to the level of dereliction of duty, abandoning Americans in a foreign country, not getting them out when you had control of Kabul in May, June, July, not doing the right thing, getting them out, knowing they're on the march? There's no consequences for that except politically?
So let me get again. This is just babble, man. This is just babble.
He should be impeached. This is dereliction of duty by the commander-in-chief. This makes it harder to fight future wars.
Senator, we impeached.
So they just throw the word impeach out now all the time. That's all that it is now. And if you were a dumb fuck who said that the populist right is anti-war, here's Donald Trump.
What happened, what they've done is incredible. So they walked in without a bullet being shot, without a bullet being fired. They walked in and they took over Kabul and they took over everything else. And if you look back at a timeline, we held them totally steady. But I wanted to get out, but we had to get out with dignity. We had to take our $80 billion worth of equipment. We had to do all of the things that we had to do. And then I would have blown up all the air bases, but I would have kept Bagram because Bagram's located right next to China, right near China and Iran, and it's in Afghanistan. So we had the whole group covered. They spent 10...
Wait a minute. Donald Trump wants us to stay in Afghanistan so that we can cover China? Give me a fucking break. He's anti-war, though. He believes in America first. He just, we could work with the far right and they'll be anti-war. I've been following politics since 2016 when I used to be an alt-righter.
$10 billion building it, and we handed out the keys. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Mr. President, I've been playing on this program a map, and this map, it goes through, walks people through the movement of the Taliban.
What happened?
Just dumb as fucking dirt. Hey, what's Glenn talking about right now? That's a really good point. What's Glenn saying? Has he gone quiet about his pal Tucker Carlson pushing all this war shit? Oh, permanent war advocates exploit the Kabul bombing to demand war. Oh, what, like your buddy Tucker? Your buddy Tucker? Gosh, I must have missed. This is a really interesting and worthwhile interview about Afghanistan and war and terror. A longtime veteran now running for Congress whose wife, a naval officer, was killed in Syria in 2019. Oh, this is the motherfucker had Eric Prince on his show. Tucker Carlson had Eric Prince on his show, and Glenn Greenwald is pretending like Tucker Carlson is anti-war. He posts, oh my god, dude, you gotta be fucking kidding me, man. You gotta be fucking kidding me. Oh, God. The hogwatch is just too much, man. The U.S. pulling out of Afghanistan under a Democratic administration is the single worst thing that has ever happened to Glenn. Please be nice. Instead of Glenn going out there and being like, I was wrong, Joe Biden is doing the really brave thing. He's posting Tucker Carlson clips out of any context to pretend like Tucker Carlson isn't bad. What a coward, dude. I've been following Glenn since he defended Matt Hale, and Hale's group of crazies violently rallied in my hometown. How that dude fooled so many and left so long and never hid his fondness for reactionary nonsense and white supremacy. Oh, Tucker loved the fucking Nazis. That was his favorite thing. He loved to be a Nazi defense attorney. All right, chat. Let's watch this CNN coverage so I can mauled. I can't wait for this. Can't wait for this, folks.
US President Joe Biden vows to hunt down and punish those responsible for the deadly Kabul attack. The Islamic State affiliate ISIS-K claiming that it is behind the suicide blast, which killed more than 13 US service members and dozens of Afghans. President Biden said the US will move forward with evacuations, but made it clear that the nation will neither forgive nor forget. All right, let's take a closer look at ISIS-K. CNN's Jumana Karachi joins me now from Istanbul. She's extensively covered the rise and fall of ISIS in Iraq. Okay. So, Joe, ISIS-K carried out some brutal, devastating attacks in the past. We're talking about
we already watched
maternity hospitals and so on.
We just watched
what do we know about their capabilities in Afghanistan at the moment?
Well, Michael, I mean, they have been a major threat, according to U.S. officials in the country. They have been the target of military operations, counterterrorism operations in the country. And as you mentioned, we've seen those devastating attacks since 2016. And also in recent months, they have shown the ability to choose their targets, carry out the attacks whenever and however they want, Michael. They have remained a serious threat in the country. Now, when it comes to their numbers, there's all sorts of estimates, something around 1,000 to 1,500. But what has really...
1,000 people. They want us to send infinite American troops back to Afghanistan for 1,000 guys. Absurd.
Concerned officials, and we've heard this from U.S. military officials also in recent days, as well as President Biden. These prison breaks that you saw in Afghanistan as the Taliban swept across the country, hundreds of ISIS prisoners who were released from these prisons and who are believed to have joined the ranks of these groups, really raising concerns about their ability to carry out more of these devastating attacks. I think what is very interesting, Michael, here is, of course, that, you know, if you look at Thursday's attack, this was, again, what would be described as a complex, coordinated attack, but also a target of opportunity. You had these large crowds. You and I have covered these sort of bombings in the past. Different groups, whether it's ISIS or others, have carried out very similar attacks. It doesn't take much to inflict maximum damage, maximum casualties, the maximum horror that we saw unfold on Thursday by infiltrating these large crowds. I think one thing to keep an eye on, what U.S. officials... By
complex, they mean they put a bomb next to a crowd. They put a bomb next to it. Wow, so complex, man. So sophisticated.
Might say in the coming hours, coming days,
one
about,
bomb, man.
Their bomb-making abilities, what sort of forensics is going to come.
Anybody with a Google search engine has the same bomb-making capabilities. Just pathetic.
Out of this investigation in terms of the explosive used, the device that was used, very important to keep an eye on. Something that is also very concerning, Michael, I found in that claim of responsibility by that group, by ISIS-K. They say that not only were they targeting U.S. military service members, they were also targeting what they described as the collaborators, the spies, the translators who worked with the Americans, really, again, underscoring the kind of risks America's allies and partners are facing right now with the fears that they're going to be left behind, Michael.
Yeah, as many most certainly will. Jumana Karachi, appreciate it. Thanks so much. So if ISIS-K is behind the airport attack, as it claims, what was the group hoping to accomplish? To discuss all of this, Sajan Gohel joins me now from London. He's the International Security Director for the Asia-Pacific Foundation and an expert on terrorism. Good to have you with us. We've heard the US President and others say that, ISIS-K is a sworn enemy of the Taliban. But you write about how the relationship is more murky than that, and that in many ways are intertwined.
Indeed, Michael. There are many shades of grey between ISIS-K and the Taliban. They will fight and kill each other on one day, and they will potentially then cooperate the next day for strategic reasons.
That literally also describes the United States of America and the Taliban. They will kill each other one day and also strategically cooperate on another day.
Mutual interest, convergence, such as, for example, trying to force Western troops out of Afghanistan. And you also have to remember that ISIS-K are made up of Pashtuns from both Pakistan and Afghanistan. There are ethnic, tribal, clan lineages with the Taliban. Some ISIS fighters are married to Taliban fighters' families and vice versa. So it is a much more murkier nexus than perhaps looking at it from a black and white perspective.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I guess when it comes to this attack, tactically, it achieves exactly what ISIS likes to do, American casualties primarily, but also chaos on the ground. What else might ISIS-K be looking to do, and what does this attack suggest about its reach and capability in Afghanistan?
Well, if we look at some of the attacks that they have carried out over the last year, you mentioned the attack on the maternity ward. They murdered women who were in the process of giving birth. They targeted a girls' school, and dozens of young children were murdered. And of course, now this very awful, horrific attack at the airport. It's about power. It's about control and intimidation. They want to show the Afghans that they are there, that they have a stake in Afghanistan's very dystopian future now that the West is leaving, and that they are going to compete with the Taliban for control.
No, again, 1,000 people ain't competing with shit. They did a target opportunity, a single bomb against a crowd of people. That is not, I mean, the jokes. I mean, come on, man. And not one question that pushes back on any of this shit. Why is our media so pathetic? It's a rhetorical question. They're warmongers, manufacturing of consent. Holy shit.
Control of the country. And unfortunately, the Afghan people are sandwiched now between the Taliban on one side and ISIS-K on the other side.
Yeah, pick a choice between who is more brutal. I wanted to ask you this too, because the US pounded ISIS-K, relentlessly for a while there, and they sort of went quiet. How much of an impact did the Taliban's release of ISIS prisoners during their sweep across the country have on ISIS-K's operating strength?
Well, certainly ISIS-K's ability to operate has been enhanced and increased after the Taliban freed dozens of their prisoners, if not hundreds, from various...
Okay, so what they're saying is that there was a prison amnesty that took place when the Taliban took over. Therefore, that means Taliban did it.
Jails across Afghanistan as the Taliban...
By that logic, we're responsible because we released the leader of the Taliban from prison with the peace deal. You see how this wraps around into an Ouroboros of stupidity?
Across Afghanistan. There are also ISIS-K fighters that have now emerged from the woodwork that were based in Pakistan. And therein lies another...
Wait, Pakistan? Wait a minute, our ally?
Problem is the fact that it wasn't just the Taliban that were lying low in Pakistan, but ISIS-K fighters too. And then questions still remain about Pakistan's role in all of this, because they haven't just aided and abetted the Taliban in the past, but possibly ISIS-K for their own strategic reasons, because they've had this aspect of strategic depth for Afghanistan. And again, the concern is that what role will Pakistan play in Afghanistan's future, especially vis-a-vis all these groups, when you've got Imran Khan's government wanting to try and get international recognition and legitimization for the Taliban, But how can one do that when they retain these odd ties with all these different terrorist groups who are murdering civilians? And also,
if you apply that same standard, which is absurd, to the United States, then how is the United States recognized? What are you talking about?
Looking at the death of 13 U.S. Marines who were trying to save lives in Afghanistan.
Yeah, it's a complex neighborhood, that's for sure. I wish we had more time.
I think we should just plunge back in, chat. We should plunge back in. That's gonna work. Yeah, that's what it is. That's gonna work, folks. Let's do a deep dive into the political philosophy that undergirds ISIS, that undergirds Al-Qaeda. I wanted to show you more direct sources, but then I got scared. I got scared that it would get the stream in trouble by like showing you the direct source documents. So I was kind of waffling, and so I went back to Wikipedia because I don't think I could get in trouble for talking about Wikipedia. So what you'll find, chat, is that the source of radical terrorist Islam comes from the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, which was our ally, and Saudi Arabia, that is, and the Mujahideen in Afghanistan. So these are all American-supported institutions, not the Muslim Brotherhood in particular, but the anti-left authoritarian states in Egypt. Qutbism is an Islamist ideology which was developed by Saeed. I think it's Qutb. It is, what is it? It is pronounced, how do you pronounce his name? It's Qutb? Something like that. Anyway, so this guy, Saeed here, developed this version, this belief in Islam, and basically this radical ideology, it's a political version of Islam. They believe that there are no Muslims, no true Muslims anymore in the world, except for them. Okay? So everybody who claims to be a Muslim, but isn't one of them, is actually an apostate and should be put to death. All right? So let's talk about their belief system here. Okay, here's what it says. The main tenet of their ideology is that Muslim community are not followers of true Islam, which has been extinct for a few centuries, having reverted to godless ignorance. So that's why they can go into a random crowd and just kill everyone. Because to them, they're not really Islam. They're not really Muslims. All right, so here's the belief system. Adherence to Sharia as sacred law accessible to humans, without which Islam cannot exist. Adherence to Sharia as a complete way of life that will not bring not only justice, but peace, personal serenity, scientific discovery, complete freedom from servitude, and other benefits. Avoidance of Western and non-Islamic evil and corruption, including socialism, nationalism, and consumerist capitalism. Vigilance against Western and Jewish conspiracies against Islam, a two-pronged attack of preaching to convert and jihad to forcibly eliminate the structures of, I think it's Jaliyaya. I'm not exactly, first of all, I can't speak Arabic, so excuse my butchering of it. But the importance of offensive jihad to eliminate, not only from the Islamic homeland, but from the face of the earth, because truth and falsehood cannot coexist on this earth. The most controversial aspect is where they have declared Islam extinct, which is takfir. Is the CIA funding it? Yeah, so we're going to get into it, all right? Let's go into the history. So this guy's ideas was spread through his writing, his followers, and especially through his brother, Muhammad Qutb, who moved to Saudi Arabia following his release from prison in Egypt and became a professor of Islamic studies and edited, publishes, and promoted his brother's work. Ahmed al-Zawahiri, who went on to become a member of the Egyptian Islamic Jihad, was one of Muhammad's students and later a mentor of Osama bin Laden and a leading member of Al-Qaeda. Qutbism was considered propagated by Abdullah Azim during the war between the Soviet and Afghan Mujahideens. In the scene of the war, it had merged with Salafism and Wahhabism, culminating in the formation of Salafi jihadism. Abdullah Zaim was a mentor of bin Laden as well. Yeah. So you have the Egyptian Muslim Brotherhood going to Saudi Arabia, setting up as Islamic studies, then being propagated by American support during the war between the Soviet and Afghan Mujahideens. And he spent 2 years in the U.S. in the late 40s and disliked it immensely. Examples of Western malevolence he personally experienced and related to his readers include an attempt by a drunken, semi-naked American agent to seduce him on his voyage to America. Muslim Brotherhood was a reactionary conservative response aided by Western empires against communistic thought. Exactly. And that was the key. The reason why we supported these radicals is because they were opposed to socialism. They were also opposed to Arab nationalism, which was another thing that we were trying to check. There was a movement called Pan-Arab nationalism, where Arab people across these various countries that were created by the French and the British following World War I arbitrarily, basically the French and the British drew lines in the sand and said, this is Iraq, and this is Syria, and this is Lebanon, and these were all creations of the imperial project after the collapse of the Ottoman Empire. And the British and the French conspired to create all these states that were not based on any kind of unified identity. They didn't have any legitimacy. And so a movement of secular pan-Arab nationalism or secular socialist movements wanted to unite Arab peoples into one state or reorganize the borders in the Middle East. And that was opposed completely by the British, the French, the Americans. And the discovery of massive oil reserves in Iran and Saudi Arabia induced the United States and the British to seek stability, which meant corrupting local elites with money so that they would provide their resources to American and European markets. That's when the United States of America created these deals with the House of Saud and Saudi Arabia, where we would flood them with money. And they set up and supported these extremist versions of Islam as a way to administer their territory and keep those more conservative elements in check, while tamping down on secular and socialist and leftist movements. In Iran, we've already talked about this a number of times, but there was a leader called Mohammad Mossadegh who was elected in Iran, and he ran on a policy of building a social democracy in Iran that would renegotiate the deal of the British Petroleum, formerly known as the Anglo-Iranian Oil Company, was stealing oil and paying the Iranians basically nothing as they drilled the oil. And when Mohammad Mossadegh tried to negotiate with the British to get a fairer royalty deal for Iranian resources, they blockaded, and eventually he escalated to nationalizing the Iranian oil reserves. And when Eisenhower came in, the British induced him, said that Mohammad Mossadegh, the democratically elected leader of Iran, was actually a Soviet agent, and that we were going to lose the Iranian resources to the Soviet Union, which was totally unacceptable. So the United States, in a program called Operation Ajax, led by Kermit Roosevelt, I think grandson of Teddy Roosevelt, or was it the son? I can't remember. Did a military coup, and they installed the Shah as absolute monarch. They destroyed the democracy, and this eventually made basically politics illegal in Iran. They had a secret police, and the only place where politics and organizing was an opposition to the Shah's government was allowed to percolate was within conservative radical Islamist mosques, which eventually led to the Iranian Revolution and the takeover of the country by the conservative strains of Islam there, and that created the Islamic Republic. So the United States of America, again and again, supported these whatever movement was at hand to defeat leftism, to defeat secular humanism, to defeat kind of pan-Arab nationalism. And so now we have all these movements, and we directly supported them, for example, in the Afghan civil war, after the, before the Soviet intervention and after as well. So this is the history that we're dealing with, which is the United States is constantly intervening, put their fingers on the scale to take resources to counter the Soviet threat, and prevent the growth of any leftist movements within the Middle East. And now this is the result. This is what we have. And ISIS today is supported by the Gulf states, or was supported by the Gulf states. Why? As a way of supporting rebels within the Syrian civil war and opposing Bashar al-Assad, who was considered to be aligned with Russia in opposition to our interests. These are the realities, right? So, I don't know what to say, man. I don't know what to say. The idea that we could just stick American troops in Afghanistan, that's going to solve something, is so absurd and so ahistorical. I don't even know what to say after 20 fucking years. You didn't say the three letters who set it up. I mean, do we need to? Do we need to? We do politics here every morning starting at 10 a.m. 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. You can watch us here on Twitch. We're the morning guy. The morning politics guy. Politics Frogs in every single day. Same time, 10 a.m. Day in, day out. And we carry you through your morning and early afternoon politics needs. And if you need more, Mike from PA, we have a YouTube channel. We talked about suburbs, the My Pillow guy, Ted Cruz. We talked about DSA. Amazing. Making fun of Tim Pool. Amazing. Look at all of these amazing videos. Get in there, watch them. We have me on Twitter. You got to follow me on Twitter, chat. I'm at 20,614 subs. That means I got like 40 followers on Twitter in the last day. You can do better than that. You can do better than that. Go follow us on Twitter. And of course, join the Discord, where we have an incredible community of left-wing streamers. We have left-wing community. We talk about the stream. We talk about politics. There's gaming content. It's a really awesome, supportive place. Direct action, mutual aid, and you can just let off some steam. And also, you can help produce the show. One of the things I do is I look at the links that are put into the news content suggestions chat room on the Discord. Join the Discord, come hang out, and maybe what you want me to talk about will be part of the next show.